You ever feel like the world is built for extroverts? Like if you're not the loudest in the room, you're invisible? It's almost like society tells you, if you're not talking, you don't exist. And for years, you believed that. But what if I told you that's the biggest lie you've ever been fed? Because here's the truth. Power isn't about noise. It's about presence. And the ones who truly control a room, they don't waste energy proving it. Think about the most powerful men in history. Were they the loudest? No. They were the most calculated, the most strategic, the ones who understood that real dominance isn't in how much you say, but in how much weight your words carry. The problem is, people confuse volume with value. But let me tell you something. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself with words and start owning your silence, you shift the entire power dynamic. A wise man speaks because he has something to say. A fool speaks because he has to say something. What makes a man dominant? Is it how much he talks? How flashy he is? How loud he laughs? Nah, that's what weak men think power looks like. Real social dominance is about one thing: certainty. You ever seen a guy who barely speaks but somehow commands the entire room? He doesn't beg for attention. He attracts it. He doesn't seek validation. He gives off the vibe that he already has all the approval he needs from himself. Dominance isn't about being extroverted. It's about being so sure of yourself that others feel it without you saying a damn thing. Ever noticed how when some people talk, everyone listens? It's because they don't waste words. They make each one count. When they speak, people lean in, not because they're loud, but because they're deliberate. They don't overshare. They don't explain themselves endlessly. They say what they mean, and then they stop. Most people, they're desperate to be liked. They adjust their opinions, they soften their words, they laugh at jokes that aren't funny, all because they crave approval. A dominant introvert, he couldn't care less. He knows that when you stop chasing validation, people start giving it to you naturally. They don't try to match the room, they set their own pace. While everyone else is burning themselves out trying to be on all the time, the introvert moves with precision. He chooses when to engage, when to listen, and when to withdraw. And that control, that's power. See, dominance isn't about force, it's about presence. And presence comes from one thing: being completely, unapologetically comfortable in your own skin. Most people think social dominance is about talking more, being more outgoing, taking up more space. But what if I told you the real power lies in doing less, but doing it with precision? Introverts have advantages that extroverts don't. They just don't realize it. Let's break it down. While extroverts are busy making noise, you're busy gathering intel. You notice who's actually in control of the conversation, who's faking confidence, who's just there for attention. And when you do speak, you already know exactly what to say because you've been reading the room the whole time. You ever wonder why the quiet guy's words hit harder? It's because they're backed by observation, not impulse. Most people talk first, think later. You think first. And that makes you more dangerous than you know. While they react, you plan. While they're too busy trying to fill silence, you're crafting the perfect response. When the moment comes, your words don't just enter the conversation, they control it. And that's why when an introvert finally speaks, it's game over. Silence makes people uncomfortable, and if you know how to use it, you control everything. Ever notice that when you don't respond immediately, people lean in? They wonder what you're thinking. They start second-guessing themselves. That's because silence creates pressure, and pressure forces people to reveal their hand. Meanwhile, you're in full control, just by saying nothing. Most people try too hard. They want to be liked, so they adapt, they perform, they shapeshift. But here's the thing. People respect what they don't fully understand. And when you don't try to fit in, when you just exist as you are, people can't help but take notice. That's why introverts have an edge. They don't fake confidence. They don't force connections. And because of that, when they do connect with someone, it's real. And real always beats fake. You've spent your whole life thinking you need to be more outgoing to be dominant. But the truth, your strengths, your quiet observation, your deep thinking, your controlled energy are exactly what make you powerful. You don't have to play their game to win. You just have to master yours. You don't need to be the loudest. You just need to master presence. Master presence. Posture, eye contact, controlled movements. People respect composure. When you move with purpose, when you hold your space with ease, you command silent respect. Speak in statements, not questions. Questions seek validation. Statements set the tone. Instead of saying, "Do you think that's a good idea?" say, "This is the best way to go about it." Own your words. Strategic silence. Pause before you speak. It makes you seem more powerful and calculated. Silence creates anticipation. It forces people to hang on to your words. Control your social energy. You don't have to engage with everyone. Set boundaries. Prioritize quality interactions. If you're selective with who you give your time to, people automatically value your presence more. Ask the right questions. The person who controls the conversation is the one guiding it. Instead of small talk, ask questions that make people think, that make them open up. That's how you take control, without force, without noise. You spent years thinking you needed to change, that to be respected, to be dominant, you had to be louder, more outgoing, more like them. But now you see the truth. You don't need to play their game. You don't need to fight for attention. You don't need to change who you are to be socially dominant. Because everything you thought was a weakness was actually your greatest strength. Look at the men who hold real power. They're not chasing approval. They're not trying to entertain. They're not fighting for validation. They own who they are, and that is what draws people in. Now the question is, what are you going to do with this power? Are you going to keep shrinking, keep doubting yourself, keep believing the lie that you need to be someone else? Or are you going to step into what you were always meant to be? You have the tools. You have the mindset. Now it's time to own it. The lion doesn't need to roar. He knows who he is. Social dominance isn't about being extroverted. It's about being unshakably comfortable in your own skin. You don't need to be loud to be dominant. You don't need everyone to like you to be respected. Your quiet confidence is more powerful than forced charisma. Embrace who you are. Apply these strategies today and watch how people start reacting differently to you. And if you've ever felt like being an introvert held you back, drop a comment below. I want to hear your experience.